Well, we may be live, but I think we lost contact there for a few minutes. Did I go away or what?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're here. We're here now. Okay, now we're live on Instagram. Anyway, I don't know if that calls that or not, but here we are. Good evening. This is Intelligent Ramblings. I'm Bill Lofton. I'm your host with my co-host, Gary Glenn, William Harrington, and John Cone. Gentlemen, it's hot in Dixie.
Indeed, it is that. It's hot just about everywhere.
Yeah, can you imagine how the Yankees are? It's got to be tough on them.
Oh, they're not used to this.
Background there we go. Now we're back to normal. Well, gentlemen, shite. It seems that President Biden has, not only is he old and feeble, but he has now caught COVID. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah.
Well, it's out there.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised we hadn't all had it, and some of us didn't know it.
They said he was doing a campaign appearance at a restaurant yesterday, or recently, I think it was yesterday. Anyway, my wife has it also. She caught it. Went to the doctor Monday and they said, yeah, you've got COVID.
I captured that picture of President Biden because he looks like an old man. I mean,
he is an old man. He's 81 years old.
I'm 68. I'm an old man. This guy's got 20 years on me. I couldn't imagine, as hard as it is for me to walk sometimes, that
13 years on you.
13 years on me. I cannot imagine anybody being that old that's going to run our country. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous, unbelievable. I think we're in a state of terrible affairs. We got nothing to choose from. Biden needs to bow down. I mean, they did a poll on Democrats, and 75% said they did not think he should run. 75% Democrats, not Republicans, Democrats.
Well, I'm not sure at this point who the Democrats put up, Biden or anybody else, if it would make a difference, to tell you the truth.
Well,
I guess it depends on who it was.
Well, I can tell you who does think it would make a difference, and that is Senator Adam Schiff, who today issued a statement saying he thinks Biden ought to step out of the race, that's pretty major.
Yeah,
I think he's one of the senior senators that his thoughts will make a difference.
Well, it's good to have Jay Johnson with us tonight. Find somebody from the other side. Yeah, it's a good thing Joe's been vaccinated. I mean,
yep.
I mean, I was vaccinated and I got it, and I was sick as a dog. I couldn't imagine if I wasn't. So yeah, thank goodness for that.
I've had it 2 or 3 times, I guess, and I've been vaccinated. But you know what? It didn't kill me.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood, exactly. I mean, a couple of times, if I hadn't been tested, I would not have known I had it. But if I hadn't been vaccinated, it might have been a whole lot worse. So
I think it bears repeating that, and that's the point Gary's making, which is that if you get vaccinated, it's not going to stop you from catching it, but it will. You're a lot less likely to go to the hospital or be really sick when you catch it. and you become a bad host, which stops the virus from spreading.
Yep. Yeah, recognize sarcasm. And some people react to this like they react to anything else. Some people get it and it's really, really bad. And some people get it and it's like a cold or the sniffles. I mean, whether you're vaccinated or not, just depends on the person and your immune system. There's a whole lot of factors going in that. You just don't make a blanket prediction just because you're vaccinated or not vaccinated. But most, let's put it this way, when it was really bad, most of those who died were not vaccinated.
Yeah. So it is provable, Joel, and one way we can do that is to go all the way back to the Spanish flu epidemic in the early 1900s. And they didn't have a vaccine, but they had masks. And people that wore masks, because enough people wore them, it slowed down the progression of the virus through the population. And so that was the purpose of wearing masks in the recent global pandemic. And I'm often a skeptical person myself, believe it or not, but when my doctor explains to me the benefits of the vaccine, then it made sense to me. So that's why I got vaccinated.
Hey, you do you.
Also, by the way, I've been, I've tested 11 times negative, and I would have bet any one of those times I had it, but I've been fortunate. I haven't had it yet.
Well, that's good.
Good evening, Andrea. She says that we're burying the lead. It's not Biden's COVID.
I think I know what Andrea is referring to. Andrea, is it a recent statement by Adam Schiff? Maybe so.
I think we alluded to that already.
Yeah.
The fact is that a lot of people don't want to see the president continue to be the standard bearer for the Democratic Party, including a lot of high-profile Democrats, high-profile donors, high-profile politicians. I mean, we talked about that last week, and I don't think it's gotten any better.
But more people are coming out now and saying it. I mean, everybody's getting.
Well,
they were kind of hee-hawing around it, and saying, well, let him decide, yada yada. Now they're coming out saying this guy needs to take a vacation, a permanent one.
By the way, sports fans, hee-hawing around it is a technical webcasting term, in case you weren't familiar.
Thank you, John, for that clarification.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And they are hee-hawing. I think that you just nailed it, Bill.
Hee-hawing? Well, we talked about previous President Trump almost getting his ear shot off and the rest of him. It's amazing to me that guy got that close to him. And well, I'm happy that Trump's okay. I still don't like him. And I do still think he's, I don't have to need to go into that again, but I'm glad he's okay. I think the guy was searching for attention. He's a kind of there was no mental illness. Well, they said involved. Well, anybody takes a shot at a previous president has got a mental illness. Absolutely.
Well, I think this is a case of suicide by cop. He had to know he wasn't going to get away alive. Oh, come on. It is amazing that he got that close. In fact, probably never should have. Probably never should have gotten that close. In fact, he was the latest stuff I saw that he was turned away from the main gathering because he saw the metal detectors, the magnetometers. And then when he got up on that building, he was also confronted and by a policeman who asked him what he was doing, basically, and then the guy turned his gun on the cop, who, like anybody else, ducked. And by the time he recovered himself, the guy was starting to shoot. By this time, as soon as he popped off a couple of rounds, the snipers fixed on him and shot him to death. And I mean, he had to know that, didn't he? Huh? Of course, when you're 20 years old, a lot of stuff seems to make sense to you that doesn't make sense when you're a little bit older. I don't know. That was just, where should, I agree. Was it Roy Barnes, one of our former governors, I think it was Roy Barnes, said we're better than this. Or we should be better than this in this country. You may disagree with somebody, but you don't try to shoot them. Come on. This is not the third world. This is how they handle things in some of those countries where they change leaders like they change their underwear. This is not that. And this, I think, gives a huge, huge boost to the Trump campaign.
Right.
It's like now the hand of God is upon him. I mean, let's face it, an inch or two the other way, he'd have been dead. He shot him through the head.
Mm-hmm.
But
well,
he wasn't a very good shot.
They're saying that the Secret Service could possibly have been blocked by a tree, his line of sight to where the guy was at. I guess bullshit. The guy behind him would have picked him off. Those snipers are good. They don't miss.
Yeah,
and you see where Trump was on stage.
And this guy wasn't a sniper. He wasn't a good shot. He couldn't make the high school rifle team. He was not a good shot, which is why, he was lucky to get as close as he got to the ex-president. And then started spraying bullets in the crowd.
That's what he's looking at.
That's a pretty good shot, though, to hit somebody's ear from that kind of distance.
I don't think he was aiming at his
50 feet.
Yeah.
I don't think he was aiming at his ear, William. He's probably aiming at his heart or his head.
It's the damn length of a football field, basically. And if
Or
you
more.
can't make that shot, you're not a very good shot. I promise you that with my rifle, and I'm propped up with a scope, I can drop you at 400 feet, 500 feet. I can drop you at 2 football fields. If you're any good shot at all, you got to know how the bullet's it's gonna go in an arc if you get to that distance. But with the distance he was at, it's not even gonna be arcing much. So if you aim at his head and it drops down, it's gonna hit him dead center. Guarantee I can hit that shot. With a SKS, I went to a range a couple years ago and I had an SKS shooting with iron sights, and at 100 yards, I hit, let's see, out of 20 shots, I hit 16 in the kill zone. Kill zone's between the top of your head and your stomach. And I hit 16 out of 20 with shooting with iron sights with an SKS, which isn't known for its being a sniper weapon. But with my 270, I guarantee you at 100 yards, and I'm propped up, I'm going to hit you 20 out of 20 in the kill zone, and I'm going to put 15 out of 20 dead center. And I'm a decent shot. I mean, I'm not a super shot or anything. I'm not a sniper ability. And for somebody to take that on, it makes no sense. It makes no sense how he got up there without being spotted. It makes no sense that they saw him up there in civilian clothes with a damn weapon and they didn't shoot him. None of it makes any sense.
Well, of course, the conspiracy theorists are going to say that he was looking the other way. But
That the
deal
Secret
is,
Service was looking the other way.
yeah, and everybody was looking the other way. But
Agree,
you know what,
Kenny.
John, it is an embarrassment. But if you were going to look the other way, wouldn't you make sure that your guy could hit that target, and not some kid who couldn't make the high school rifle team?
Right. Yeah. There's not a conspiracy here other than, I think it's a lot more like what Andrea is saying right here. It
wasn't even his gun. It wasn't even
No.
his gun. He wasn't used
Yeah,
to the gun.
It was his father's gun that he had owned. His dad had owned it for many years.
But it just makes no sense. The guy would attempt it. It's like Gary said, suicide by cop, because he knew he was going to get wasted. And
Oh yeah, yeah. And Andre says he wanted attention. Well, okay, but how is he enjoying that attention now that he's dead? Duh.
well, I mean that's where those people
all
think of.
nuts.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
It's a mental issue, absolutely. And I mean, what else can you say about it? Other than the fact that the guy was a wackadoo, and somehow he just got lucky and got up on that roof. Because I do not believe that they were looking the other way or something stupid like that. I mean, you're a career Secret Service and you're a sniper. Are you going to give that up for some reason? All of them that were there?
Well, let's put it this way: the guy who really knew what he was doing didn't take a whole lot of shots to take this guy out, did he?
No. Took one shot and he was dead. One squeeze. Oh, absolutely. I actually agree with Joel. It was a massive of an oversight. Way too massive. It doesn't make sense.
Well, the Secret Service wasn't in charge of that part of the area. That was the local police that had control of that. Secret Service only went out to like 150 feet. Now,
Yeah,
why
I
they
heard
just
the
went out
same
to-
thing. I heard the same thing, William, and that the local police were responsible for that building that the sniper was on, but they didn't have enough people to cover the building and do everything else they had to do outside of the venue. And it was like the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the right time. He got on a building that had fallen through the cracks in terms of who was supposed to cover it. And
Well, Joel's saying you're not right, William, that the local commissioner had already said that the local police were in charge of traffic only. And I also heard that they requested that they park a local cruiser by that building, and they were told no, they wouldn't do that. So it sounds like they weren't getting a lot of cooperation by the locals for some reason. I don't understand it. I mean, he's a former president. He needs to be treated a certain way. I mean, I don't care who he is. I don't care if I don't like him. I have enough respect for the office to where he should be watched. I mean, can you imagine if somebody kidnaps him and what we would have to do to get him back? You know, it makes, or any of his kids, they're all idiots, but I don't want any of those people to be hurt either.
Well, you go.
here's a question. Here's a question. Does anybody else think that a limit of 150 yards that the Secret Service will cover is too small, and that
it's way
we're
too
now
small.
going to see them go out to like 200 or 300 yards before they let anybody else be responsible for coverage like this?
Well, this is absolutely a black eye on those guys.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you're going to see a whole bunch more buck passing and finger pointing than this before it's all over with. Nobody's going to step up and say, "Oh yeah, it's my fault. I screwed up." Do you think that's going to happen anytime soon?
I agree with you, Kenny. It's way too small, and they need to protect people like this. We may not like them. I'd like to smack him in the mouth, but you know, I can't do that because I'd go to jail. But you got to
Well,
protect
you're gonna,
him. He needs
well,
to
and
be
you-
protected for the rest of his life. Get over it and do it.
yeah, and you're going to see a whole bunch more tight security around the president, the vice president, and now the vice president nominee. You're going to see all kinds of security around those people and their families. But you know what? You can't be everywhere all the time. This is a real good example that if somebody wants you dead, there's a real good shot that they're going to take a shot. If it's with a rifle, an axe, or driving their SUV through a crowd to get to you. It's hard. It's hard to have that kind of security all the time. Just human nature, or human frailty, maybe I should say.
Well, hopefully we have unburied the lead now. Sorry, Andrea, our bad. So another thing that happened today, other than just the ongoing Republican National Convention, is that I keep talking about this, but the fact that Adam Schiff came out with a statement saying Joe Biden needs to step aside, get out of the campaign, and let's pick another candidate is, I think, really significant. I think he's one of the few people in the Senate who carry enough weight that the president will take what they have to say seriously. And it might take more than one of the senators and the congressmen in the House of Representatives, but I think we may hear someone else say the same thing, like Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi or Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader on the House of Representatives side.
Well,
and if they do, I think he needs to step aside and let them redo the ticket.
Well, exactly. And if it gets to that point, then, you're going to be perceived as a fractious party. Their own house is not in order. How can you possibly hope to lead the country?
Yeah. Well, it's a risky run, but
behind you.
I think it would, if they can do it well and get Biden's support, like his public support for doing it, once he decides to step away, then they got a good chance of making it work. But
I don't think he's going to step away, though.
It very well could be. Who knows?
I'm about 50-50 on that now, William. For a while there, I just knew he wouldn't, but I don't know now. More and more people are piling on that bandwagon. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not sure it makes a difference anymore. I think this almost martyred Trump.
Right. So Joel says, why should a handful of politicians override the vote of millions of people who voted for Joe? Good point. I don't know how they would structure this. Is there going to be like a mini primary before the Democratic convention? What are they going to do?
Well, they're going to have the whole convention is going to be there to elect somebody.
Right. They could do something in the convention. Andrea says, I agree, pick someone else and shake things up. J.D. Vance, vice presidential pick, hated him in 2016. Now he loves him being Donald Trump, I guess.
He said this is before he grew his beard. He said he was a never Trumper. He was a never
So what
Trumper,
happens
but
when
he said it,
you get whiskers on your face and you...
Yeah, but maybe you get a little less liberal. I don't know. I have no idea. But he just said he changed his mind once Trump got in office. He saw what he did and he changed his mind. Hey, you can change your mind. I mean, change my mind a lot.
I think there's some precedent for when has this happened? Well, LBJ was smart enough to do this very thing before the 1968 election, where he said, in January of that year, if memory serves, that I'm not going to run, and so that's when the Democrats had to scramble around and not scramble, but pick another candidate.
Well, yeah, with LBJ, it said in no uncertain terms that he would not accept the nomination, and if nominated, he would not run, and he would not serve.
Yep.
And that was pretty definitive. And right now, that's what Biden's saying. So somebody's going to have to change his mind before anybody else does anything.
Yeah.
I'm actually here now.
That's
I'm not
good.
Frozen.
Joel
person.
says they've known for a long time that he hasn't mentally been there. They can't pull him out after it's been discovered by the public how flawed he is.
Well, I
don't know.
based
I would
on that,
say there's a... Go ahead, Gary. Sorry.
I was just going to say, based on that, it looks like Joel is back with us. I thought after that last text, he turned into a Biden fan.
I think anything can happen at the convention. Somebody mentioned that a few minutes ago. They're very scripted and not like they used to be. But it could be that they're able to change horses during the convention.
When is the Democratic convention?
Someone just asked me that before we got on, and
It's
I think
in August.
It's in August. Thank you, Bill, because I don't know for sure when it is.
It's the middle of August, and they were talking about going ahead and saying, okay, let's just go ahead and say he's our candidate. And a bunch of people went, oh, wait a minute. We got to wait a minute for this. And that's what happened.
I agree with you there.
I think I'm frozen again.
Right is right and wrong is wrong. Now, was it my imagination? Go ahead.
I was going to say, you won't find too many fans of Biden among us, but they have way better candidates to choose from. They could have figured this out 4 years ago, and we wouldn't be, stuck with the candidate that's there now.
I absolutely agree.
Well, let's see who they pick then, or if they stay with Joe. Now, this guy that Trump has picked, as Andrea has already observed, he was a never Trumper for a while. Now he's a fan. Now, I thought I heard on ABC News that he said, or somebody said about him, that if he had been in place of Mike Pence, that the results of the election would never have been certified. I think I'm going to throw a BS flag on that. Aren't you constitutionally mandated to enforce the rule of law and certify those results once they are put in play?
I think that it's, that it's kind of a ceremonial process where they just accept the electoral votes from the states and, certify that they got them, and it's this number. But
Well, Pence
I
didn't
don't
have
know
that
much
authority.
more about the process other than that.
Well, Pence did not have the authority to throw the results of the elections out. That's crazy.
Right? Yeah.
And if we are not going to obey the Constitution and the rule of law, do we all just get to pick and choose what laws we obey? That's nuts too.
That's not going to work.
No,
I want to apologize to everybody out there because I keep going out. I don't know what the hell's going on with my internet tonight, and I keep swapping between 2G and 5G, and it wants to swap itself back. But do know that I'm going to be calling True Vista in the morning, and it's going to be a really long and loud and obnoxious phone call.
well, there was one more thing you wanted to touch on tonight, Bill. Was the situation in the Middle East, right?
Yeah, the U.S. military pier for carrying aid to Gaza will be dismantled after weather and security problems. The U.S. military built that pier to carry humanitarian aid to Gaza, and now they're going to take it down. And it's been, how long do we decide?
20 days.
20 days at $230 million. That's what it cost us. $230 million for 20 days rental on this beautiful pier that we built. And now we're dismantling because of the weather issues and security issues and whatever issues. Who gives a damn? It costs $230. Keep your ass out there on that dock and do what you're supposed to do. You know, that's the way I feel. You're paid to be out there. Put a couple snipers up. Anybody sniping at you, shoot back at them. You know, but to dismantle this thing after 20 days is unbelievable, in my opinion. You know.
Well, that's a waste.
Yeah, that was an expensive little exercise. Did it really help? I mean, I know they.
It helped some, but it couldn't have made a dent in it because there's millions of people up there and they're all starving. It's a catastrophe. How much per day would that be, I wonder? Anybody got some math on them? 20 days, 230 million?
I think John figured out it was about 11.5 million a day, wasn't it, John?
That's right.
$11.5 million a day that I'm sure we're paying for. Nobody else going to help us. It's like, what's her name's Bridge to Canada. You know, I mean, it was made no, they obviously didn't think it out.
No.
They should have put a couple up there on the beach. They should have put a couple stands up there, like deer stands, and so they could look at the perimeter, and if anything was weird going around, you took it out. You could have got the Israelis to come down and do that.
That whole area of the world, though, is just such a snake pit. I mean, you know, and those people have hated each other for thousands and thousands of years. You know, I got a solution. Y'all quit killing one another. Just do that. And then we'll come over there and we'll build you a few convenience stores and some hotels and motels, and everybody will be making money. Because everybody, you know, it's a beautiful area of the world. You know, it's a cradle of 3 great monotheistic religions in the world today. Come on. Just quit. But they hate each other. And there's no reasoning. Crazy. There's no reasoning with hatred.
It's as crazy. The part is, it's like the Methodists fighting the Presbyterians and killing them, and the Baptists fighting everybody else. You know, and it's religion. Everybody should have a freedom of religion. Figure out a way to, you know, fix the land where people can have a decent place to live where they're not scared to walk out at night. And they hadn't figured that out in thousands of years. So what does that say about them? Including the Israelis. Figure it out. The killing needs to stop. It's ridiculous.
Well, I don't think that's
You'll
going to
find
happen.
no argument for me on that. No, I agree with William. I don't think it's going to happen either, but it should.
It should. Well, with that, let's keep moving.
All right, I guess I'm up. You know, in just a couple of weeks, school is going to be back in session. Now, I don't know about people out there that are younger, a lot younger than me. They probably don't even remember this, but all of us do. And I'm really thankful we went to school when we did. We had a real summer vacation. Got out last May, 1st of June, didn't go back until after Labor Day. And then when we went to college, we were all at Georgia. When we were on the quarter system, you didn't have to go back until sometimes mid to late September. But now, because they want all these breaks during the year, they take time off, and all of a sudden now we're just about to get ready back in school. All right. It's going to be kind of a two-part series here, and I'll do the first part tonight. Parents that if you're listening to this, or you could pass this along if you're listening to it to some parents, consider promoting some extracurricular activities for your children, whether it be band or drama or some sort of service. Maybe they get a job. For us, it was athletics. But you know what? It's always been proven that extracurricular activities help keep kids in school. Well, what's the first thing people try to take away from them when they start getting a little trouble? Oh, it's always extracurricular activities. Yeah, if they would turn that activity up, to studying and hit the books more. But usually, if you take extracurricular activity away from them, they wind up sitting home on the couch eating Cheetos. Now, we picked athletics. A lot of us did. And it teaches you some things. Other than how to do whatever sport you're doing, it teaches you teamwork, how to put others first, how to work together for a common goal. I've told my people when I was coaching that if all you learn from athletics is how to play some silly game, then pick yourself an easier game to play. Learn how to play Uno or something like that, because a lot of this stuff is hard. But you should learn more from athletics than that, and other extracurricular activities as well. My youngest son did drama. I thought I worked hard when I was an athlete. Man, we didn't hold a candle. Those kids were there at midnight, and the parents were in on it too. Me with power tools. That was a scary thought, but we all pitched in. The other thing that you should learn from all of this is how to be a good person. I mean, I wanted my kids to be the best athletes they possibly could. And I know those band members out there that are marching in the heat of the summer. They want to be the best musicians they possibly can. But on top of all that, I told my kids, I would rather you be a better person. Because unless you're crazy like me, you're only an athlete for a very short period of time, but you're going to be a person all your life. And we all know people that are very, very good at what they do, but they're not very good people at all. Your teachers, support them this year. Your teachers, it's a calling for them. And teachers are not a substitute for you parents. They are not policemen or policewomen. They're not even babysitters. Your parents need to teach you the values. People said, the world went to hell because we took prayer out of school. No, the world went to hell because we took prayer out of our homes and we tried to turn something else over to the government. Do you really want the government in charge of your kids' prayer life? I mean, they've done such a bang-up job on everything else, right? Parents should be teaching things like kindness and respect and willingness to learn, to be good for their own good and the good of the society. We've kind of gotten away from that, haven't we? Teaching people to be good citizens. Ben Franklin said something along these lines, that he was firmly convinced that anyone who desires an education should be able to get one. You see, there's the key. You got to desire that education. You got to want it. I'll have some more on this subject next week. For now, that's my time out. Thanks for yours. I'm Gary Glenn.
This webcast is brought to you by William Lofton Photography. They can be found at williamlofton.com. Offering event residential portraiture at williamlofton.com.
Hey there. Last week we had some discussion of climate change. And so I thought this week I would do a little talk about climate change science, because the best way to learn more about something is to do a little presentation for it. So here it is about climate change. The definition of climate change is that climate change is a long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, and global climates. That's not John Cohn's definition, that's from NASA. Let's ask a question, is climate change real? Yes, man-made climate change is real, and it's happening much faster and at larger, higher levels than ever in the history of Earth. The levels I'm talking about are carbon dioxide levels, methane levels, and average global temperatures. All of those are exponentially higher than they've ever been. So what's the cause and effect that's happening here? The primary causes come from gases that are released into the atmosphere as a result of human activity. The two worst of these greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide. It's released into the atmosphere by burning fossil fuels and as a product of deforestation. And I'm gonna put up several charts and graphs as part of this. Here is the first one. This is a graph of carbon dioxide trapped in ice. And at the tail end of it on the right-hand side, right there, if you can see my mouse pointing there, that's from like 1958 to the present moment right there, and it's gone vertical. In general, carbon dioxide levels stayed about the same over time, from 180 parts per million to 300 parts per million, and over time, like 800,000 years of Earth's history, it stayed in that band. And beginning in the last century and continuing now, it's gone completely out of that bound, and up to right now, I think it's about 420 parts per million. So the next greenhouse gas that's one of the major contributors to global warming and climate change is methane, and it's released into the atmosphere from landfills and fossil fuel production. There's a lot of methane leaks around petroleum plants, and natural gas is 70 to 90% methane. So any of that raw gas that leaks anywhere in a pipeline is 70 to 90% methane making its way out into the atmosphere. So here is another graph really quick. This is methane from 1958 to now. And it doesn't track quite as exponentially as carbon dioxide does, but as you can see, it's going nowhere but up. The combination of those greenhouse gases, all of them, there are several greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, cause global warming and climate change. Normally, sunlight reaches the Earth's surface where some is absorbed and the Earth heats up, and some is reflected back out of the atmosphere into space. And the effect of these gases in the atmosphere, the greenhouse gases that we're putting into the atmosphere, is to trap the reflected light in the atmosphere, and it's trapped the heat that builds up as that light is trapped by these gases, heats up the atmosphere, all of the atmosphere, all around the world. So these are global average temperatures from 1958 to today. And they also have gone nowhere but up. And we are right at the 1.5 degrees centigrade increase that scientists tell us really negative things start to happen. It's kind of a tipping point, they think. Once we go past that, we're going to do way more damage than we've done to this point. So as our world heats up, and this is happening right now, here are some of the changes we can all expect to see. Sea level rise of 1 to 6 feet, more hurricanes that will be stronger and more intense, more droughts and heat waves, longer wildfire seasons, and a loss of ice cover. So how do we respond? What do we do to resolve this? Much of the damage has already been done. We're at a tipping point for greenhouse gases and global temperature increases right now. There are at least 2 things we can do to reduce the impact of climate change. Number 1 is mitigation. So reduce the source of greenhouse gases by reducing the use of our fossil fuels. So if we burn less petroleum products in our cars, in our trucks, in our buses, in our trains, in our power plants, we'll reduce the amount of carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases that we're putting into the atmosphere. The second thing we can do is adaptation, adjust to life in a changing climate, because sea levels are going to rise. We're going to have extreme weather events, and we're going to have food insecurity and drought in places that have never had those problems. And so it's going to take adapting and changing along with the changing climate. If we were able to stop, putting greenhouse gases in the atmosphere at the level we're doing right now, it would still go up. We would still have the greenhouse effect. The global average temperature would continue to go up. About all we can do, if we do our very best to mitigate, is to bend the curve a little bit and give us a chance to figure out how to adapt, and also give the natural processes that are at work in our world every day a chance to adapt to. So one final thought: the 2 effects of climate change, food insecurity and drought, have a history of ending civilizations. You can go back in time and find many examples where drought and starvation brought entire civilizations to a halt. Okay, that's it for today. Go to Intelligent Ramblings Friends group. I'll put my notes up there. And if you have any questions or want to talk, we can talk more here or on Facebook too. Thank you.
All right. First off, we had in sports, we had a winner in the Major League Baseball Home Run Derby contest Monday night at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, home of the defending World Series champions Texas Rangers. And the surprising winner was Teoscar Hernandez of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He won by one home run over Bobby Witt of the Kansas City Royals, 14-13. But the biggest surprise Monday night was the rendition of the national anthem before the home run contest. The anthem was by country music singer Ingrid Andress, whose performance was a little off, to say the least. Miss Andress now admits she was drunk and will check into rehab. If you saw it, you know what I mean. And if you didn't, look it up on YouTube. Don't they check these people out before they put them out there in front of all these people to embarrass themselves and embarrass the country? I mean, you would think they at least have to produce an audio tape of what they're going to sound like. Well, anyway, next year it's going to be in Atlanta, and if they have anybody besides Timothy Miller sing the national anthem, it would be a travesty of justice. In the All-Star game itself last night, the American League won again by the score of 5-3. The National League started off with a bang as Los Angeles Dodgers all-world designated hitter Shohei Ohtani hit a 3-run blast in the top of the third inning. That made the score 3-0. But the American League scored 3 runs themselves in the bottom of the third and tied it up. Then in the bottom of the 5th inning, the American League, Jaron Duran of the Boston Red Sox hit a 2-run shot that gave them the final 5-3 victory and the game's MVP award. I guess we got what we wanted to see, was these superstars in baseball playing a meaningless game in the middle of the hot summer, and hopefully we got something out of it. In local news, the University of Georgia has dismissed senior defensive back David Daniel Sisovan from the team stemming from a February arrest of reckless driving in downtown Atlanta on I-85, I-75 interstate, in which he attempted to elude the police. This comes from Coach Kirby Smart yesterday, who's at the SEC meetings, and he announced that he dismissed him. You don't often see people dismissed from traffic violations, but this is an instance when it happened. Last week, Georgia linebacker Small Mondon and Danilo Jones were arrested for reckless driving relating to street racing. This is about 24 arrests for driving offenses by a football player at the University of Georgia. When will these players learn? Didn't the deaths of one of their own teammates and a staffer last year mean anything to them? Something has to be done about these driving offenses at UGA. It's long been out of hand. It's a shame that the coach has to put an effort into something like this instead of teaching them X's and O's of football. At Wimbledon this weekend, Carlos Alcaraz denied Novak Djokovic another Wimbledon crown in an exciting match. Djokovic has been in 37 Grand Slam finals and has won 24 of them. That's more than any other man. At 21 years of age, Alcaraz became the youngest to win both the Roland Garros and Wimbledon in the same year. Well, that's all I have for tonight. We'll see you next week with some kind of sports, I hope.
Well, hey there. This is 3 Minutes to Talk. I'm with Lauren Elliott. We got this is her picture. She wasn't able to come on live with us because she is, I think, in the Caribbean right now, and you got kind of weird sounds going on at that time. Lauren, you
Yes, I do.
there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Lauren's an amazing chef with amazing stories that you could tell about the culinary world. Uh, I've been out of it for about 10 years now, and I just wanted to ask Lauren, what's the culinary industry like today?
Okay,
How has it
well,
changed in the last 10 years?
I would say if we look at the past 5 years and then the five before that, right? Because that takes us to pre-pandemic and post-pandemic just to provide context. And so you see a lot of pivoting into either meals that are family style, so that it's more not only grab and go you're seeing in hotels and other food service operations, but you're also seeing meal kits that are ready to go for the whole family to eat at home because people are also pressed for time. So with the pandemic, you had a pivot, a sharp pivot, because people weren't able to really leave their homes, and we still needed to stay in business and within the food service and restaurant industry. So as a result, you had a lot of these meal kits developed, meal delivery services, Uber Eats, and all of those things, thrive tremendously and continue to do so because the world at large is filled with transient inhabitants. It's people like myself. We travel on a weekly basis, and we want to make sure we get great food while we're on the move. So food has had to be not only portable but also mobile. You see a lot more food trucks very much present. So not only would a company have a brick and mortar or maybe 2 to 3 brick and mortar locations, now they're having food trucks as well because it's about accessibility. Everyone wants what they want and they want it now. And so, from that perspective, as restaurateurs and culinarians, we've had to make moves and strides in that direction and also look at our food packaging. So, food service packaging has been altered tremendously post pandemic to look at packaging that retains heat for a longer period of time. Some of the grab and go items increase visibility of the food within the packaging. But more than that, from a I would say sustainable perspective, sustainable and compostable packaging has stepped into the play in even more of a larger capacity because we're all
Right.
becoming a bit more environmentally conscious. So food as a whole, we're on the move. Everything's changing. It's seemingly year to year with some wonderful culinary trends being engaged as well. Pan Asian continues to be heavily present within the food service landscape, as well as looking at Caribbean. Funny because I'm here right now in Trinidad and Tobago, my homeland, and looking to engage with some projects and growing some companies on an international scale because there is a demand for that level of flavor. And then also within the blue zones, everyone's seen that the Blue Zone documentary on Netflix, targeted towards people living longer longevity, and it's looking at your lifestyle, the foods that you eat, things of that nature. So Blue Zone diets are definitely very present. Looking at Japanese cuisine, looking at Middle Eastern Mediterranean cuisine as well, and foods that also speak to longevity. Heavy use of mushrooms, heavy use of legumes and peas, and things of that nature. Vegan continues to be as well, very heavily present within the culinary space. So there's a lot going on, much of it very innovative and much needed. I'm really excited to see what flavors present themselves prolifically within the next 3 to 5 years, too.
What have you been able to handle as far as what a lot of people are experiencing labor shortages? Is that coming to the equation?
Yes, that definitely comes into the equation. Labor shortages can be offset in a multitude of ways. Looking firstly at employee retention, looking at your extensive training programs, making sure training is very accessible. It's no longer this gigantic training manual that you've got to take home and memorize over the course of 2 to 3 weeks. now everyone's leaning into a lot of our clients, my clients specifically, looking at training that's accessible on an iPhone or an Android, something that you can watch in these really short 3 to 5 minute snippets. If it's food safety handling, new recipe innovation, something that captures the imagination, the mind, and the memory within that short format video.
Well, seeing the fact that you're from Trinidad Tobago, how much does that influence your food? Still there? Well, it looks like we may have lost her. So I guess we'll go on to the closing remarks. I want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank Lauren for being here. She is an amazing chef, and you should go to Friends, Intelligent Ramblings Friends on Facebook groups, and we will, if you have any questions for Lauren, and I'm sure I'll get them to her and get them answered. Well, that didn't work. How's that? And that. Well, I've had some issues tonight with my connections, and it kind of threw me off. So everything's a little bit stranger than normal. We got several questions that we need to go back over. Number one, good point, Gary, about not wanting the schools teaching your kids prayer.
That, to me, that's not the job of the schools. It should be the job of the parents and the religious instruction that you have. You can pray anytime you want to. If you don't believe me, look at the Constitution.
Makes sense.
I prayed every day when I was teaching.
Absolutely.
Oh,
by the way,
When
yeah,
John was
along those lines,
go ahead. Here.
I was just gonna let you know that I've been asked to deliver the message at McKelvey Road United Methodist Church on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. If you're in the Oakwood area, drop in, and if you're not, you can go to McKelveyRoadUMC.org and watch me online. We'll stream it live starting at 10 a.m.
Awesome.
Good for you,
Gary
Gary.
is an amazing speaker.
All right.
Another
Oh,
comment.
and thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody for their prayers and good wishes to my nephew Sid. We hope that he is going to be out of the hospital very soon. Thank God for that.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good.
During John's presentation, I asked JJ if he was listening, and he was. Yes, I'm still listening. Can't spell it, but listening. But I'm pulling my hair out over the craziness John is talking about. And he also said, I think the topic needs to be more than closing remarks. Maybe you should consider bringing up next week. We will do that in the opening monologue, or what do you want to call it. And one more. Holy crap, they've been calling for the seas to rise since the early 80s. They've not moved at all. I disagree.
I think we can find evidence to the contrary. And the other thing about this is stuff that's going to take a lifetime or lifetimes for us to see the effects of. And so it's not as simple as saying the seas haven't risen since the early 80s. They actually have in some places.
I think Andrea's agreeing with us. Sea levels are rising, but if people don't believe humans are causing global warming and the earth is getting warmer, nothing will ever happen. That's an absolute truth.
Well, come on. It may be part of a natural cycle of things, but we've been putting stuff into the air since the Industrial Revolution. And you're going to tell me that hasn't had some effect? That doesn't even make sense on the most elementary level. Wouldn't we all be better off if we decided to clean up the air and water, no matter if you believe in global warming or not? Wouldn't we be better off with cleaner air and cleaner water? Everybody say yeah?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So whatever
Absolutely.
you believe about that, why don't we do stuff that'll clean it up? And it's going to take a coalition of people to attack this problem. If it's man-made, okay. If it's not man-made, what are you still going to do about it? We're straining at gnats and swallowing camels.
I looked up the voting bill Joel wanted to talk about, so I'll be prepared next week. Thank you, Andrea. We're looking forward to that. It's going to happen next week. We're going to talk about it.
That'll be fun.
Debbie Bell. Hey, Debbie. Driftwood Beach at Jekyll is an example of rising sea level. The driftwood is actually live oaks that were originally part of the maritime forest.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie, so much. And Bill and I know that Debbie knows whereof she speaks. I think St. Simon's is experiencing some of the same problems that they're seeing at Jekyll.
What about in, God, brain ain't working, the city in Italy, Venice, where it's has risen so much that it's flooding it out. I mean, the city is going underwater, and I mean, it's actually happening.
To go back to this comment, it's not craziness. Everything I talked about tonight had a source in scientific data. It's real, actual, measured scientific data. I just wanted to point that out.
I don't need any scientific data to know that it's hotter than hell out there.
It is that.
From
Thanks for the comment,
coast
William.
to coast. From coast to coast. I've been on the West Coast and I've been on the East Coast. I've been on the Gulf Coast. And it's hot, period.
It is hot, period.
One of the effects, not to drag this on for too long, but one of the effects is we're going to see rising global temperatures. The summers are going to be hotter. The heat waves are going to be more intense. There's going to be areas of drought where they may never have had a serious drought for decades. But those things are coming.
Well, you heard it, folks. The 24th of July is our next webcast, and at that time we will be talking about global warming, and we're going to see the seas rising and whatnot, and that's going to be our main topic for next week. So stay tuned. Come and see us. Have your not your guns loaded, but have your mind loaded on what you think about global warming, because that's going to be our main topic for next week. We appreciate the folks that did speak to us about it, and please go to our this is a plead out to everybody that might see this. Please go to our Facebook page, not our group, but our Facebook page, Intelligent Ramblings, and follow us. We need followers so we can go live on Facebook. And please follow us on our YouTube channel. At Intelligent Ramblings is how you find it. Just put it in Google, at Intelligent Ramblings, and it will take you to our webpage. And follow us there, because we need 500 followers to make money. And it would be nice to get paid to do this, because we've been doing it almost a year. We got our 50th edition coming up very soon. Hopefully we'll have some surprises that day. Anybody else got anything else they want to say except see you next week?
See you next week.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. See you next week.
And And we've got a new ending for the show, folks, since we're now live on Instagram, LinkedIn, and on YouTube.
Cool.
Please follow us if you got remarks. And like I said, global warming is our topic next week. See you then.
See?